Hello and welcome to a Horribly Nerdy Podcast, the podcast that's so bad, horrible isn't its name. Welcome back to Historic Women. Today we're going to be talking about 3 historic Scream Queens, and I can't wait to get into this. I do apologize, this may be a bit of a shorter episode like last week's. Time got away from me. I'll explain next week. Something awesome happened. You'll get a little bit of a teaser at the end of this episode that something awesome happened this week, and then just the rest of the week time got away from me, and this was kind of made in a little bit of a rush, which you'll probably be able to tell from the hasty editing, like that. There's a lot of that in this episode. You'll probably tell from a lot of hasty editing, but I wanted to make sure I got this out on Thursday. Let's get into some amazing Scream Queens.
Barbara Steele, born December 29th, 1937, is an English film actress and producer known for starring in gothic horror films of the 1960s. She is the queen of all Scream Queens and has been labeled Britain's First Lady of Horror. Her most famous roles: played the dual role of Asa and Katya Vadcha in Mario Bava's landmark film Black Sunday, starred in The Pit and the Pendulum, The Horrible Dr. Hickok, The Long Hair of Death, and Castle of Blood. All great films, highly recommended, especially Black Sunday and The Pit and the Pendulum. Additionally, Steele had supporting roles in Federico Fellini's 8½, David Cronenberg's directorial debut, Shivers, and Louis Malle's Pretty Baby. She appeared on television shows and the 1991 miniseries such as Dark Shadows. She's won a Primetime Emmy Award for producing the American television series War and Remembrance, and appeared in many films in 2010s, including The Butterfly Room and a supporting role in Ryan Gosling's Lost River. She still works to this day. She was born in Birkenhead, England, and studied art at the Chelsea Art School and in Paris at the Sorbonne. During the 1960s, she starred in a string of Italian horror films, including previously mentioned Black Sunday, The Horrible Dr. Hickok, The Ghost, The Long Hair of Death, Castle of Blood, Terror Creatures from the Grave, and Nightmare Castle. She also starred in Roger Corman's, of course, previously mentioned, The Pit and the Pendulum, of course, which is based on Edgar Allan Poe's short story of the same name, and the British film Curse of the Crimson Altar. She guest starred in the British television shows such as Danger Man, starring Patrick McGoohan. She guest starred in British television shows such as the spy drama Danger Man, aka Secret Agent, starring Patrick McGoohan in 1965. She made her American television debut in 1960s as Dolores and Daughter of Illusion episode of ABC's series Adventures in Paradise, starring Gardner McKay. In that same year, she was replaced by Barbara Eden in the Elvis Presley film Flaming Star after a brief disagreement with director Don Siegel. In 1961, she appeared as Phyllis in the Beta Delta Gamma episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. She also had a supporting role in Federico Fellini's 8½, as previously mentioned, and in 1966 appeared in the second season episode of NBC's I Spy, Bridge of Spies. She later returned to the horror genre in the 70s, of course in David Cronenberg's Shivers, aka They Came From Within, Piranha, the original Piranha, directed by Joe Dante, and The Silent Scream. She served as associate producer of the TV miniseries The Winds of War, and was a producer for its sequel, War and Remembrance, for which she shared the 1989 Emmy Award for Outstanding Drama Comedy Special with executive producer Don Curtis. She was cast as Julia Huffman in the 1991 remake of the 1960s ABC television series Dark Shadows, and in 2010 she was a guest star in the Dark Shadows auto drama The Night Whispers. In 2010, actor-writer Mark Gatiss interviewed Steele about her role in Black Sunday for his BBC documentary, In 2010, actor-writer Mark Gatiss interviewed Steele about her role in Black Sunday for his BBC documentary series, A History of Horror, which is highly recommended. An amazing documentary. I love Mark Gatiss as an actor. Blown away to find out that he's a gigantic horror fan, and his documentary is amazing. Amazing interviews. Definitely check it out. In 2012, Gatiss again interviewed Steele about her role in Shivers for his follow-up documentary, Horror Europa. And as previously mentioned, she appeared in Ryan Gosling's directorial debut in 2014, the drama fantasy thriller Lost River, in which she portrayed the character Belladonna. Steele was married to American screenwriter James Poe. They were married in 1969 and divorced in 1978. Now I'm going to give you pretty much her full filmography because amazing actress, definitely deserves not only to be mentioned, but deserves to be noticed, and her filmography definitely deserves to be mentioned. So, in 1958, she starred in Bachelors of Heart. In 1959, she was in Sapphire, The Heart of a Man, Upstairs and Downstairs. Unfortunately, her scenes were deleted in The Heart of a Man. In 1960, she was in Your Money or Your Wife and Black Sunday, which, of course, horror royalty. She's horror royalty, and that film goes down in horror history. In 1961, she was in The Pit and the Pendulum, The Horrible Dr. Hickok in 1962, 8½, The Hours of Love and the Ghost in 1963, and then in 1964, she had quite a bit. She did The Long Hair of Death, I, Maniac, A Sentimental Attempt, Castle of Blood, and White Voices. Pretty good year for her. 1965, Isolde, Nightmare Castle, Terror Creatures from the Grave, Once Upon a Tractor, which was a short film. 1966, La Marta Branzolone, The She-Beast, Young Torless, and An Angel for Satan. 1968, Curse of the Crimson Altar. 1974, In Caged Heat. 1975, David Cronenberg Shivers. 1977, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. In 1978, she was in Pretty Baby and Piranha. In 1979, The Silent Scream. In 2012, The Butterfly Room. In 2014, Lost River. And 2016, La Fantôme, another short film. And in 2016, Midnight's Past Midnight. Her television appearances include 1955's Dial 999, 1961 Alfred Hitchcock Presents, 1964 Les Bazets, 1965 Danger Man, 1972 Night Gallery, 1983 The Winds of War, 1988 War and Remembrance, 1991 Dark Shadows, and in 2020 she was part of the Castlevania anime on Netflix. Barbara Steele is the Scream Queen of all Scream Queens. Fantastic actress, amazing performances, drop dead gorgeous. Everything about her performance, especially in Black Sunday, is so memorable. It's one of the just craziest and just amazing film. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'm just going to give you a loose, very quickly synopsis in which the film takes place in Moldavia and tells the story of a witch who is put to her death by her brother, only to return 2 centuries later to seek revenge upon his descendants. And that's all I'm going to say right there about the film, because it needs to be seen. It deserves to be seen, and it has its place in horror history. 1,000,000%. Black Sunday is an amazing film, and Barbara Steele's performance Hands down, one of the best. Next up, let's talk about Diana Prince, who is also known as Casey Poteet and Casey Croft. She was born June 6, 1979 in Charleston, South Carolina, of mixed Irish, German, and Cherokee descent. Diana first began performing in explicit hardcore movies in her mid-20s in 2006. No judgment, big fan. An avid fan of comic books and video games, she has been featured as an online personality for various pop culture websites, which include hosting the daily program Geek Rock for Music Plus. Diana has also made occasional forays into the mainstream with small roles on 2 episodes of the hit cable TV series Entourage, and even bigger roles in several direct-to-DVD films. She has also appeared on numerous reality shows, including Playboy's Foursome and Blind Date Uncensored. She resides in Los Angeles, California. Now, why am I talking about Diana Prince? Diana Prince, also known as Darcy the Mail Girl, from Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Theater, which you can see on Shudder and AMC Plus and all that. Diana Prince is a gigantic horror fan. I follow her on social Instagram, also all kinds of social media, and she is for sure a gigantic horror fan. And currently and past, a huge horror crush for me. And I could not do a series on women in horror without mentioning Diana Prince. Fantastic performances. She currently is hosting the documentary TNA 2, which I believe you can see on Shudder right now, produced by Full Moon Pictures. Where the fuck is her goddamn filmography? Like, seriously? Thank you, Jesus Christ. Starring in over 160 films, adult and non-adult films, let's talk about her horror stuff. Don't get me wrong, I could go on and on about some of her adult stuff, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm not judging at all, because I am body positive and sex positive on this podcast, and I like porn. I'm just going to admit it, so I'm not going to sit here and judge anybody. So, let's talk about some of the horror films you can see her in, such as Candy's Harem, Party Monsters, Frankenstein Created Bikers, Shadows of Los Angeles, Beach Massacre at Kill Devil Hills, Witchcraft 15, Blood Roses, White Slaves of K-Town, Bunnyman Vengeance, Evil Bong 666, has an uncredited cameo in Friday the 13th, the video game, Puppet Master Access Termination, 6 Hot Chicks in a Warehouse, Toxic Tutu, Evil Bong 777, Bunnyman the Grindhouse Edition, Vengeance, Ouija's Hollowed Night, Joe Bob's Haunted Drive-In, Devil's Triangle, and of course appears in over 97 episodes of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. I love Darcy. She's such a great character on that show. She knows her stuff. She knows her shit, people. Love Diana Prince. Like I said, I couldn't not talk about Diana Prince on this podcast. She has appeared in some documentaries such as In Search of Darkness Part 1 and Part 2, Behind the Monsters, and again she is currently hosting Famous TNA Volume 2, produced by Full Moon Pictures. I highly recommend track down not only just her social media. Sorry. Not only do I highly recommend you track down not just her social media, but also her films. She has produced a few horror films, such as Voorhees, Zombie with a Shotgun, has produced 6 Hot Chicks in a Warehouse, was an executive producer on Evil Bong 666, You're So Cool, Brewster, The Story of Fright Night, Toxic Apocalypse, Blood of the Tribades, and more. Yes, Diana Prince, she knows her horror stuff. I highly recommend tracking her down. Check her out on all of the Last Drive-In with Joe Bob's for sure. She's great on that. She has a good back and forth with Joe Bob. She knows her shit. She always has something really cool that she does for the films and stuff. Awesome, amazing. She talks about some of her past, some of the stuff she's done. Just highly recommend everything about Diana Prince. Like I said, I have a huge horror crush on her, or even just a huge crush on her in general. She's amazing. She's fantastic. She's awesome in these horror films. She's just an awesome person. She has such a great personality. I'd love to meet her someday in person, get an autograph and stuff, but maybe one day, hopefully she'll come to Michigan for some convention. But anyways, I highly recommend Diana Prince. Check out her horror films. She's not afraid to give it her all, and she's not afraid to have fun with it. That's one reason why I love her so much.
What can be said about Linnea Quigley that hasn't been said about a billion times? In my opinion, one of the best horror icons out there, and at least two of my iconic horror roles of all time from two of my favorite horror films of all time, but we'll get into that in a minute. Barbara Linnea Quigley, born May 27th, 1958, an American actress, film producer, model, singer, and author. Best known as a B-movie actress and is often referred to as a scream queen due to her frequent appearances in low-budget horror films during the 1980s and 1990s. I wouldn't call her a B-movie actress. I think she's just an actress. Born in Davenport, Iowa, Quigley first pursued her career in the late 1970s, shortly after moving to Los Angeles. While working at Jack LaLanne's health spa, she was encouraged by her friends to try modeling and also began taking acting and guitar playing classes. After appearing as an extra in various films, Quigley got her first acting role in the Charles Band-produced film Fairy Tales. She continued receiving small parts, mostly B-movies. Her first bigger part was in the 1981 slasher film Graduation Day, and she followed with more films such as Savage Streets and Silent Night. Deadly Night has one of the best horror kills in history. I'm just gonna say, deer head. No spoilers, that's all I'm saying. Now, one of my favorite horror films of all time. In 1985, she appeared in The Return of the Living Dead, playing teenage punk Trash, which is considered one of her most notable roles and earned her Scream Queen status. During the second half of the 1980s, Quigley starred in a number of low-budget horror films following the popularization of home video. She repeatedly worked with the directors like David Cousteau in Creepazoids, Nightmare Sisters, and Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl Ballerama. And with Kevin Tenney and my probably second favorite horror film of all time, Night of the Demons. She also starred in Kevin Tenney's Witch Trap. She appeared alongside fellow Scream Queens Brinke Stevens and Michelle Bauer. She worked frequently with fellow Scream Queens Brinke Stevens and Michelle Bauer. By the end of the 1980s, Quigley decided to take a different direction and starred in the first two films of Rick Sloan comedy series Vice Academy. However, it seems she was typecast as a victim in horror films. Aside from her acting career, Quigley is also a singer. She formed an all-female band, The Skirts, in the early 1980s, and an author. She wrote 3 books, The Linnea Quigley Bio and Chainsaw Book, I'm Screaming as Fast as I Can, My Life in B-Movies, and Skin. She is also a devoted animal rights activist and an active member of PETA, which makes her even more fucking awesome. Let's talk about her early life and career beginnings. Her father was a chiropractor and psychologist. He worked as an executive vice president at Palmer College of Chiropractic. An only child, Quigley attended Garfield Elementary and Sudlow Middle Schools in Davenport. In 1972, she began attending Bettendorf High School in Bettendorf, Iowa. Quigley later reminisced about her high school years. I was so shy I didn't move my mouth, didn't sing in Glee Club, or anything like that. Didn't do plays. I was terribly, terribly shy. And look at her now. Most notable horror icons out there, in my opinion. Shortly after graduating from high school in 1976, she moved with her parents to Los Angeles, and we mentioned that she got a job at Jack LaLanne's Health Spa, where she met models who encouraged her to work in films and more. One of her earliest acting jobs was a television commercial for the Close-Up toothpaste. After getting a few extra parts, she got her first acting role in the Charles-produced erotic comedy Fairy Tales. She appeared as Sleeping Beauty. Her next role was in the pseudo-documentary Auditions, again produced by Ban and directed by Harry Hurwitz. She continued receiving small parts in films such as Don't Go Near the Park and, of course, Trauma Slasher, Graduation Day. She was given the role of Dolores after the original actress refused to do nude scenes. Where was I? In 1981, producer and director Jim Feasel decided to shoot some additional footage for the reissue of his unsuccessful 1975 psychological thriller Wheeler. In one of the scenes, Quigley played a waitress menaced by a truck driver. The movie was re-released under the title The Hurting and later changed to Psycho from Texas. Besides modeling audition, Quigley also began auditioning for bands, and that would lead her Besides modeling and auditioning for films, Quigley also began auditioning for bands that would let her join in. She first played guitar in an all-female band, Mad Whistle, started by singer and songwriter Lucretia Sarita Russo. Russo's then-husband, Jeffrey Spy, appeared alongside Quigley in the film Graduation Day with his band, Felony. Quigley then managed to form her own band called The Skirts. Her friend Haiti Palmer, whom she met on the set of Cheech and Chong's comedy Nice Dreams, played the bass guitar. They practiced in the basement of the punk rock club The Mask, and their music got featured in some of Quigley's later films. Their song Santa Monica Boulevard Boy was released on Mystic Records in 1983 compilation The Sound of Hollywood Girls. Of course, best known for her role as Trash in The Return of the Living Dead, she has also starred in dozens of other films, including Savage Streets with Linda Blair, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Nightmare Sisters, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, the original Night of the Demons, and had a cameo in the 2009 remake, which couldn't touch the original, but I still do enjoy the remake of Night of the Demons. And A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. She co-starred with Daniel Baldwin in Stripperland. She played in David Duchovny's movies 1313 Cougar Cult and 3 Scream Queens, and Charles Mann web series Trophy Heads with Brink Stevens and Michelle Bauer. In 2012, Quigley guest appeared in Massachusetts death metal band Sextrement's music video entitled Trucker Bombed. Alongside regular co-stars Brinky Stevens and Michelle Bauer, Quigley appeared in and was a main subject for the 2011 documentary Screaming in High Heels, The Rise and Fall of the Scream Queen Era, and its 2020 follow-up, Screaming in Heels. And the 2020 follow-up, Screaming in High Heels, The Reunion. According to Deadline Hollywood and Horror Fuel magazine, Linnea will co-star alongside horror icons Michael Berryman, Bill Moseley, and Kane Hodder in the 2022 feature Jasper, produced by Sean Carrillo, best known for Pitchfork. Quigley is vegan. She switched to a vegetarian diet in the late 1970s after her move to Los Angeles, first by eliminating red meat, then chicken, and then fish, eventually all dairy and all other foods from animals. She is an animal rights activist and active member of the animal rights organization PETA. In October 1990, she appeared on the cover of Vegetarian Times, but the cover story met with criticism from one reader who attacked Quigley for appearing in films that depict violence against women. Boo fucking who. Well, I'm just going to go through her filmography because, again, like I did for Barbara Steele and Diana Prince, these are films that I feel need to be seen. Psycho from Texas, as we mentioned. Deaf Sport, Fairy Tales and Auditions. Psycho from Texas was 1975, and in 1978 was Deaf Sport, Fairy Tales and Auditions. 1979, she was in Summer Camp and Stone Cold Dead. 1981, Graduation Day, Don't Go Near the Park, Nice Dreams. In 1983, The Black Room, Still Smoking, Get Crazy, Young Warriors, Nudes in Limbo. You can see that's when her career started to pick up a bit. 1984, Savage Streets, Sadly Night, that's a different one. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Oh, I see what I did there. I almost went Sadly Night, Silent Night. No, whatever. You're an idiot. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Party Games for Adults, and Fatal Games. In 1985, she was in Kidnapped, Girls Agency, and The Return of the Living Dead as Trash. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. One of the best roles ever. 1986, she was in Stalked, Scorpion, Avenged, Sweethearts, and Beverly Hills Girl. 1987, she was in Flash, Creepazoids, Treasure of the Moon Goddess, Sorority Babes in the Slime Bolorama, Nightmare Sisters, and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. I'm sorry. In 1988, she was in Sorority Babes of Slime Bolorama, Nightmare Sister, and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, along with Night of the Demons, Dead Heat, which is another fantastic film, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Master. She was one of the souls that was in Freddy's chest, and Vice Academy. In 89, she was in Assault of the Party Nerds, American Rampage, Dr. Alien, Deadly Embrace, Witch Trap, Murder Weapon, Sex Bomb, Robot Ninja, Blood Nasty. In 1990, The Girl I Want, Vice Academy Part 2, Dig It Up Business, Linnea Quigley's Horror Workout, and if you can find a copy of that, my understanding is it's rare and it's treasured. In 1991, she was in Virgin High and played an awesome cameo in The Guyver, which is based on one of my favorite mangas and animes out there. In 1992, she was in Innocent Blood and Blood Church. 1993, Beach Babes from Beyond. 1994, she was in Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, another film I absolutely love, and Vampire Hunter. In 1995, she starred in Assault of the Party Nerds 2, The Heavy Petting Detective, Stripteaser, and Jacko. 1996, she was in Fatal Frames and Psychopathics. 1997, Hollywood Cops, Marie Cookie and the Killer Tarantula, and Phantoms. Oh, she was in Dean Credit. Oh, that's right. She was in Dean Koontz Phantom. She was the woman. Words are hard today. She was the woman in Room 204. In 1998, she starred with... Oh, I did it again. So in 1998, she was in Marie Cookie and the Killer Tarantula, Phantoms, alongside one of my favorite martial artists ever, Mark Dacakis, and Boogie Boy. She was in Death Mask and Curse of the Lesbian Love Goddess. 99, The Killer Eye, Animals, Moving Targets, Colobolos, Play It to the Bone, 2000, Sex Files, Pleasureville, Blind Target, 2001, Horror Vision, The Monster Man, Venice Beach, and Cannibal. 2002, she was in Scream Queen. 2003, Charlie and Sadie, Zombiegeddon, Corpses Are Forever. In 2004, The Rockyville Slayer, Superhero Central, Frost. 2005, Wolfsbane, The Naked Monster, and Lost Girls. 06, Hoodoo for Voodoo, Whispers from a Shallow Grave, and Voices from the Grave. In 2007, Each Time I Kill, and Pretty. 2008, she was in The Adventures of Ace X and Kid Velvet, Spring Break Massacre, The Notorious, Colonel Steele, and Legend Has It. In 2009, she was in Vampatheater, Strangers Online, Riff Raff, It Came from Trafalgar, the remake of Night of the Demons, La Femme Vampire. In 2010, she was in Bloodstruck, La Femme Vampire, Volume 2, Night on Has-Been Mountain, Liquid Memories, and Dead End. In 2011, she was in Stripperland, Collapse. In 2012, Where the Dead Go to Die, 1313, Cougar Cult, The Voices from Beyond, Girls Gone Dead, Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas, Grindhouse 2, Stella Boyle and Manson, Rising. 2013, she was in The Trouble with Barry, Postmortem America 2021, Blood River, and Miss Strangelove. In 2014, she was in Virginia Obscura, They Came from the Ether, Trophy Heads, Disciples, A Blood Story, Bigfoot versus D.B. Cooper, which sounds amazing, Demonica, and Three Scream Queens. 2015, she was in Terror Toons 3, Cabaret Diabolique, A Blood Story, The Unquenchable Thirst for Bone or Juice, Terror Toons 4, Hunters, and Blood Wings. In 2016, she was in The Barn. 2017, Bone Hill Road. 2019, The Best Laid Plans. In 2020, she was in The Last Thanksgiving and was a part of the documentary In Search of Darkness. 2021, she was in New York Ninja. She is still working to this day. She's still pumping out stuff, which is awesome. She deserves it. She deserves so much notoriety, so much credit. She is a very talented actress. One of the most badass women I've seen on screen. On screen. She's a scream queen. What do you expect? Just absolute adore her. Definitely horror crush of mine. Love Linnea Quigley. If you have never seen anything starring Linnea Quigley, I highly recommend start with Night of the Demons and Return of the Living Dead. Recommend those right out of the gate. She's got a ton of great stuff. Definitely check out all her stuff. Check out her social media. Follow her. Give her praise. She deserves it. Linnea Quigley is awesome. Check her out. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of a Horribly Nerdy Podcast. I know we just covered only 3 horror women today. I do apologize. This is kind of a rushed podcast. That's why it's being edited and produced so late on a Thursday. I do apologize. Just a week got out, the week got away from me. And yesterday I recorded a 3-hour podcast with some amazing people. We're gonna talk about that more next week. That was an absolute blast. I can't wait for that episode to come out. I'm going to share the shit out of that episode. These guys were awesome. I had a blast. I was dying laughing. I hope I'm with them again pretty soon, because that was just so much fun. Awesome people. We'll go into more of that next week. But thank you all so much for tuning in. You all mean the world to me. I love you all, and I will see you next week.